Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest edition of Tales from Outer Space. Hope you enjoy. Story number 1. The Ultimate Weapon, written by Random 3X. General Domain. Been a while. Wind Sailor beamed as he gestured for the human to approach. Domain's whole body slumped as he trudged over towards the group. What's the question today? He asked with a deep sigh. Pardon? Wind Sailor asked. You guys only ever call me over to get that human perspective, Domain answered, making quotation marks with his fingers. So, I felt like let's skip the preamble. What human thing do you want me to do? Human Domain. I am hurt that you would think such a thing. Malice held a claw to his carapace in mock heartbeat. Please, you know as well as I do, you only include me to get my perspective, Domain grumbled. Is that such a bad thing? If anything, it means we value your input, Growl said, fixing Domain with a smile as he slid a cake towards him. I suppose. Sorry, it's been a bit of a mood today, So what's the subject today? Domain asked, relaxing his body language and making it clear that he was starting to relax. Think nothing of it. We are discussing something very apt for prisoners in war criminal prison, Wind Sailor began. Yes, we are discussing the ultimate weapon, Growl roared as he slid the second cake towards Domain. Like, what it is? Domain asked. Yes, Sir of Assault. We are discussing what would be needed to make the theoretical ultimate weapon, Malice explained. First, I stated that it should simply nullify all opposition, while at the same time not ever harming your allies, Wind Sailor began, to which the other two nodded. And, I said that we should be able to use it against anyone and regardless of who or what they are, Growl added. Domain nodded at these first 2 points. Makes sense, break your opponent, ensure your allies' safety, and never have to worry about it if it will work, Domain said, continuing to nod. Next, I said that it should be self-sustaining. So, when we use it, it can't be stopped by anyone but the one who started it, Malice said, clicking his mandibles. They're pleased with their addition. If I may, I'll add that it should be of a sort that the enemy can never use the side effects themselves, not even to inconvenience the one who used it, Domain added, to which the trio nodded emphatically. A most astute idea. It would be worrisome if the enemy could use this theoretical ultimate weapon against us, Wind Sailor said, nodding. Weapons also often have a very high cost-to-effectiveness ratio. It should be a very low cost, preferably as close to nothing if possible, Growl said. At that, why not make it add to your resources? With each use, it should grow in power as you do, Malice suggested, and all 4 present nodded. Finally, not just the side effects, but it should never be possible for the opposition to use it against us, Domain said. If I may add something as well, why not make it that it doesn't have to kill your opponents if it is unnecessary, Wind Sailor added. So, what could this theoretical ultimate weapon be? A self-replicating nanite swarm, Wind Sailor suggested. They have an initial low cost, are usable against anyone regardless, and can add to your resources and could be programmed to avoid people marked as allies. But there is not a danger of control being stolen, Growl asked. Well, it is not impossible, Wind Sailor admitted. How about a genetically engineered hive mind swarm? Malice suggested. It will not harm allies, will only add to our power, cannot ever be turned, and would be possible to use against near all enemies. But that would have a high initial cost and wouldn't be self-sustaining, and it would undoubtedly kill a lot of the enemy, which we stated would not be a necessary feature. Well, with your idea, it seems to be a given, Growl refuted. If you are so sure, then why don't you suggest something then? Malice shot back. How about a sun exploder? Growl suggested. It would be usable against all, and the enemy can't use the side effects, and it could never be resisted. Growl, buddy. You'd be destroying masses of resources, not to mention the cost of such a device to start with, Domain said, shaking his head. I suppose so. Growl lowered his head. I got a suggestion, Domain began before trailing off. Please do proceed, Wind Sailor said, gesturing with his hands. It may seem very anime, but friendship, Domain said, putting aside who anime is. Why friendship? Growl asked. Friendship will meet all the criteria we have set. 1. If you made friends with the opposition, it would completely nullify them. It would also never harm allies. 2. Friendship can be used against anyone with few limitations. Friendship ideally is self-sustaining and has almost zero resource cost as well. The opposition could never use friendship against us, so they wouldn't be able to use the effects or the side effects against us, as they would break what they gain. Not to mention, we would receive a net gain from anyone we befriended. Domain finished his explanation. Domain, Mensela looked at his human friend with a disconcerted look. I think I understand how your race expands so much now. Not through force of arms, Growl flexed his bicep, but through force of arms. Growl pulled Domain into a hug. A fascinating idea if it could be used, Malice said as he clicked his mandibles in joy. For the power of friendship, Winsela held up his cup, to which the others held their own, joining the toast. So about this anime, fellow, please tell me more, Growl boomed, sliding a third cake towards Domain. End of story. Story number 2. Buzzing the Tower, written by Traumatized Waffle. Well, what is it? One of the techs finally called out. I haven't a clue, but whatever it is, it's moving fast and still accelerating, called back another tech. We'd all been staring at the radar screen for the past 10 minutes or so. A weird blip had popped up on the edge of sensor range and had been accelerating ever since. Our scanners couldn't seem to get a fix on it, for whatever reason, so we had no real idea what it was. Maybe it's one of those new Federation stealth ships? Someone surmised. That can't be. We would have been notified of a testing occurring nearby, plus nobody comes this close to the galaxy's edge, replied another voice from the crowd. There was suddenly a loud gasp amongst our small crowd as the object changed its heading, putting on a direct course for our small listening post. There was silence for a moment, and then panic. Shouts of, "It's heading right for us!" and other panic-laden shouts began to echo throughout the small station. We all began to scramble throughout the station, preparing for the object's imminent arrival. Point defense systems online, chirped a computerized voice, accompanied by a loud whirring sound that had filled the station as the large point defense batteries came online. We all clambered back to the central control bridge and to our stations. Proximity alert, object on approach, chirped the computer. We could see the object now through the vidscreen, and none of us could doubt that it was a ship, a very large ship at that, accelerating still. The ship crossed over firing range, and the point defense batteries began to open fire, spewing bright red laser bursts at the ship. We all watched as the beams lanced towards the ship, and just as it seemed it would connect, they bounced off at an unseen barrier, then lit up light blue for the instant the beams connected and turned translucent again. The ship was getting even closer, and we could see it in much greater detail. It was impossibly large, probably bigger than the largest Federation warcruiser ever built. On either side, 3 large domes ran the length of the ship. It came closer, and suddenly our communication array burst to life. A large bipedal creature appeared on the vidscreen, sitting on what appeared to be controls for a large vessel. It began to speak, and our translator systems furiously translated its language. Yee-haw! Howdy, aliens! I'm gonna show you all something we've called buzzing the tower back in Texas, exclaimed the creature. We all began to scream as the ship barreled towards us, seemingly to crash right into us. Then, at the last second, the alien creature jerked back on the controls, and the large ship arched upwards, at the bottom part of its hull slightly scraping along the outer hull of the station. We stared at the back of the ship as it lit off into the distance. On the back, written in strange letters that our translator matrix sampled, were the words, Texas 2, migrate a vessel. We all stood there, terrified and baffled. Our communication systems registered another loud, yee-haw! Whatever that meant. Then our sensors began furiously throwing out data as the ship began throwing off a bunch of strange exotic particles. Then, it was simply gone. We were all silent, attempting to comprehend what had just happened. What the feck were those guys? Someone exclaimed. End of story. I would just quickly like to thank the T5 channel members and patrons. Caspar Arnholtz, Cam Maxwell, Barky, It's Difficult to Pronounce, Lord Azrakul, and Arcadian.